Hey guys, welcome back to SourceFed Nerd. I am Steve Zaragoza. So, in lieu of Halloween, I decided to make a new list and, kind of skip through all the scary Halloween-y type stuff. And I want to do a top 10 list of the greatest superheroes. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all about, what's happening here? What's that? What?
Hey everybody, DJ Wooldridge here, and it's Halloween. Who gives a crap about the good guys? It's all about the boogeymen. Here's my top 10 list of the greatest villains of all time. Number 10, Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. I can't think of a better character to start off this list. More myth than man, Chigurh isn't just a relentless killer. In the amazing No Country for Old Men, he's a cipher that represents all evil, unstoppable, unknowable, and ultimately unkillable. Masterfully played by Javier Bardem in the Coen's masterpiece film adaptation of the masterpiece book. Chigurh is like a murder alien dropped into an unsuspecting world, except, insane killers actually exist. Number 9, Mystique from the X-Men series. Magneto may get all the press when it comes to X-villains, but at this point he's played the part of the anti-hero and even the straight-up good guy just as many times. When it comes to devious mutants, no one can top Mystique. Not only is she sexy as hell in all her depictions and can morph into anyone she desires, usually more sexy people, she's got the brains to match her ever-changing good looks and is always a step ahead of the competition. Mystique has many faces: mother, lover, terrorist, supervillain. But no matter what role she's filling, she's always out for herself. Number 8, Frank from Once Upon a Time in the West. Frank is a cold-hearted, murdering bastard. Doesn't really differentiate him from anybody else on this list, right? The thing that makes Frank such an amazing villain is that he was played by Henry Fonda, one of cinema's all-time good guys. This was the guy that was so genuine and likable that he convinced a room of 12 angry men to ditch a murder charge on a kid who honestly was probably guilty. So when he stepped into the shoes of gnarly gunslinger Frank, it was like watching a beloved uncle straight up shoot a kid in the face. Oh yeah, the first time we see Frank, he straight up shoots a kid in the face. Number 7, Phyllis Dietrichson from Double Indemnity. Film noir is one of the all-time great film genres, and every noir needs a good femme fatale. If you were ever unclear about what exactly a femme fatale is, it's this bitch. Phyllis Dietrichson leaves a trail of bodies in her wake in the classic Double Indemnity, but is able to keep her hands clean. How? She's smarter than any man in the room, especially the film's hero, Walter Neff, and uses her smoldering good looks to turn him into a slobbering mess. A mess that is willing to kill for her. And he's not the first one. But don't dismiss this as petty sexual manipulation. Oh no. She's so good that Neff actually falls in love with his psychopathic sweetheart. Now that's dangerous. Number 6, Harry Lime from The Third Man. Harry Lime steals penicillin from military hospitals in post-World War II Vienna, dilutes it, and resells it on the black market, which leads to a bunch of deaths. If that can't get you on a top villains list, I don't know what can. He's also played by Orson Welles, who could do the whole villain thing in his sleep, and probably did, often. But if that doesn't convince you of Lime's all-time villainy, consider his most famous speech from the movie. You know what the fellow said? In Italy, for 30 years under the bourgeois, they had warfare, terror, murder, and bloodshed. But they produced Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and the Renaissance. In Switzerland, they had brotherly love. They had 500 years of democracy and peace. And what did that produce? The cuckoo clock. Enough said. And if that's shitty, maybe we should just find a clip of him giving the speech, because it's Orson fucking Welles. Number 5, Hans Landa from Inglourious Bastards. Quentin Tarantino has filled his repertoire with several memorable villains, and even more memorable anti-heroes, but none are quite as effervescent as Hans Landa. As far as villains go, it's tough to beat Nazis, and of course at the top of that food chain is Hitler. But Tarantino and actor Christoph Waltz did something special with Landa. He's smart, ruthless, charming, and hilarious. He's just utterly compelling. Best villains easily steal the spotlight from their do-gooder counterparts, and Landa undoubtedly did that in Bastards. Number 4, Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad was all about the bad guys, and while Walter White was arguably the show's main villain, and Todd was undoubtedly the craziest, its best villain is the mild-mannered yet completely terrifying Gus Fring. Gus rarely raised his voice, and he rarely had to. He just had to step into the room for you to know he was the baddest mamma jamma in town. He may not be the most physically threatening villain on this list, but the dude was always in complete control, and consistently left Walter in the dust. At least until their last fateful face-off. Gus's right-hand man Mike said it best when he said, "You can shoot Jesse James, but that don't make you Jesse James." When Walt finally took out Gus, it truly was the beginning of the end for his methsploits. Number 3, Darth Vader from Star Wars. Who's your daddy? For most of us, Darth Vader is our first introduction to truly complex villainy. He goes from ominous asthmatic in the original Star Wars to the ultimate absentee dad in The Empire Strikes Back, which is the best Star Wars movie, don't even front. Suddenly he became a tragic figure. Yeah, he'd force choke you for letting his coffee get cold, but he used to be a good guy, and who knows what tragedies led him down his dark path. Turns out those tragedies were kind of lame. Is it just me, or should killing a bunch of kids keep you from getting a Blue Ghost bonus life? Even if you did ice the Emperor. All that aside, Darth Vader had the cojones to make the whole galaxy shudder, and that earns him a spot on this list. Number 2, Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter is one of those villains that is the high watermark for all the others. Hell, the Hannibal psychologist is even more dangerous when he's caught, a trick aped by a bunch of genre baddies in the past couple years in movies like The Dark Knight, Avengers, and Skyfall. On top of it, there hasn't been a bad performance of the character in any of the adaptations of the book series that spawned the character. No, I have not, and I will not see Hannibal Rising. Anthony Hopkins made him famous, but Brian Cox's turn as the character in his original outing, Manhunter, is just as great, even though it's completely different. And the new Hannibal series, which is so much better than it should be, and if you're not watching it, which you're not, you should rectify that immediately, has crafted him into a boogeyman as menacing as he is compelling. It adds just enough humanity to this inhuman monster to make him almost relatable, which makes him even scarier. Finally, we arrive at my #1 villain of all time. And really, it was no contest for me. All the other villains on this list can hold the delusion that they are the good guys of their own stories. But not #1. He's evil with a capital E, he knows it, and he loves it. That's right, Batman's arch nemesis, the Joker, nabbed the #1 spot. In the 70+ years the clown prince of crime has been tormenting Gotham, there's no ulterior motive for the madness, but the madness itself. That's the joke, and death and mayhem are the punchline. Now that's not to say the Joker isn't complicated. Far from it. Each of the hundreds of creators that have tackled the killer clown have revealed a new layer to his psyche. He's like the Rorschach test of villainy. Besides, he's the one person on this list that could send chills down the spine of all the others. Or at least clench. You know what I mean? Like, like your asshole, clench. Whether he sees himself as Batman's court jester or just wants to bring all institutions to their knees, he knows his role and he gets a kick out of playing it. And whether we like it or not, truly great villains bring out the best of our favorite heroes by testing them to their very limits. And maybe, by laying the darkest parts of our soul bare, these fictional nightmares can bring out the best of us too. So what are your favorite villains? Let us know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. You can click on this annotation for the rest of our stories. My name's DJ Wooldridge, and like any good villain, I'm just gonna fade into the darkness.
Okay, I'm free. I made it. They had me in this